Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is time for Revolutionary Change. It is Monday night. I'm Jen Perelman.
I'm Peter. Wait, you're Jen who?
I'm Jen Perelman.
I'm Peter Hager. And how are you, Jen?
I'm good. It's nice to see you properly clad.
Hey, I did the best I could. It was courage under fire, I suppose.
Very, very, very smooth. So I wanted to show you what just came in the mail today.
Oh, you got something in the mail.
I did. I got something in the mail. So for people who do not know, we recently had on Blanche from Feast in the Middle East, who is a chef and has a YouTube show and has a book. And I just got her cookbook.
Oh,
I know. I know.
That's not just any book. That's a hardcover book.
It's a hardcover, and she wrote me the nicest note. It's so sweet. So, guys, this is Blanche's book, Feast in the Middle East, A Personal Journey of Family and Cuisine. And it's really cool. It's very pretty. Anywho, I was very happy to see that, guys. If you haven't, we did a really good show with her, and it's very interesting. And it's always good to talk to people that have very different perspectives, especially people that are Palestinian right now.
Yeah. And, as our channel grows, it opens up other opportunities for us to speak to different people from, frankly, not just all over the country, but all over the world. And we know that we have an international audience, which makes things even more interesting. So, we're obviously very grateful for everybody being here tonight. And, Lord knows we've got a lot of different things to cover. We're going to cover, obviously, Leonardo DiCaprio. We have a very interesting video from Zohran that was from several years ago, talking about housing and how to deal with it.
So what was he serving in the state assembly?
Yes, he was. And he was in a traditional Muslim garb get up at the time.
Okay.
Credit to him. I mean, like I said, I want to see him succeed. I think he, like anybody, I mean, we obviously have to be cognizant of what is and is not to be believed as far as what his intentions are. But I do think that he is in it for the right reasons. And I think he's the best he can to make sure that he's fighting for the needs of the many. And that's kind of what we're facing right now. And
unlike some people, Leo, looking at you.
Well,
I will tell you, I am very thankful that no one that I was really into, that I thought was great or followed or really was none of my people other than, and again, I would say Seinfeld, but it isn't him, it's the show. Like, I never cared about him one way or the other. The show. But I'd be sad if some of the people that I used to like or support or go see or thought were just showing their complete disgusting selves. Thank you, Ken Man. Thank you. That's so nice. Like, again, if it were Dolly, I'd be freaking out.
Yeah.
I like if I found out that like Dolly was doing what Leo's doing, I would be like, I don't know what I would do.
Well, it's kind of like what I said.
That's like end of world thoughts to me.
Well, it's kind of like what I was saying about Springsteen. It's sort of in the same vein. And I've also noticed some people commenting on our video clip regarding Jennifer Welch and the I've Had It podcast. And there was one person in particular who commented and said that, oh, I'm gonna if you keep speaking negatively about this person, I'm gonna unsubscribe to your channel. I'm like, I specifically
threatened me with a good time.
I specifically said that we appreciate her using her platform to help the cause. 1,000%. But at the same time, this
unsubscribe
is doing two things with their platform. Number one, they're saying that we are smarter than MAGA. MAGA is a bunch of morons. And it's like, do you really think that helps when you have a legitimate civil war happening right now where I don't even know if it's split 50-50. I think that overwhelmingly the people who identify as America First is not on board with what's going on in Israel, like at all.
Are you talking about condescending elitism?
Yes.
Okay, well, they clearly didn't learn because they don't want to learn. How'd that work for Hillary's campaign?
Well, that's what I said specifically. I said, listen,
It's never going to win for them.
You could say all the right things, but if your instinct is to always show that you are an elitist liberal and that you view yourself as culturally, economically, and educationally superior to your political enemies, no one should ever listen to you as a guiding light, because in the end, you will always pick people based on their political ideology. Our ideology when it comes to Israel-Palestine is very simple. Where do you stand on the issue? If you support Israel, stay the fuck away from us forever. And if you support Palestine, let's work together and do whatever we can to salvage whatever is left of that genocided culture that is facing a Holocaust. And that's where I stand.
Yeah, it's definitely become like the benchmark. You know, it's the benchmark for me, you know, and it really is. And it's hard because I have become even much more isolated than I was before, which I'm not, I'm not the most social of people.
But you're pretty good at it when you're around people that you like.
No, I'm what I like to say is an antisocial extrovert. It's an unfortunate combination. You know, it's like I can work a room, like I have it in me to do it, but I just would rather not. I'd rather just be home alone. So but I've become so much more like isolated. I don't want to reach out. I don't want to talk to people because I don't want to find out one of two things actually that are both annoying to me. I don't want to deal with people that are just pretending things are fine. I don't want to, even if they're not Zios, but they're just not willing to address this. It's uncomfortable. They don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with that. And I can't deal with Zios. And those two categories, unfortunately, make up the vast majority of people that are in my existence.
And that's
vast majority.
That's also
and by the way, with the majority being in the former category of people that are just not getting involved.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. But I also think that a lot of times people fall into this illusion that things can ultimately get better, just based on geographical location. In some cases, that is true. But make no mistake, you are in South Florida, and that is one of the worst places in the country that you could possibly be in. If you're trying to be around what I do think is probably more of the majority mindset. I mean, like I said, I have a very good friend from back home who lives in Central Florida now. He is America First, MAGA all the way. He does not support Israel, but he's also somebody who doesn't want to be perceived as being an anti-Semite because he doesn't support what they're doing. And I've tried to explain to him, I'm like, listen, brother, you have to understand, this is a tool of the ruling class. It happens to be a Jewish ruling class, but it is a ruling class nonetheless. They don't actually care about Jewish people or Palestinians. That doesn't mean anything to them. What matters is their class position. As I said,
I just want to say, before you get too far in the weeds on it, like as far as the anti-Semitism situation, I want to stress this, and I want to be very clear. I understand that there has been so much hesitation over past decades to be labeled or called an anti-Semite. Like that's always been such a big deal. And it is so hurtful and offensive to people. Like I know Nina has been hurt by that. And I know that it is very hurtful to people. And unfortunately, that term no longer holds any meaning. It has been so completely watered down due to the Zios that it really doesn't have any meaning anymore. So let's say that it did still have meaning. This is what I would suggest you say to the next person, Peter, that you encounter that is worried about being referred to as an anti-Semite.
Yeah.
Let's assume that that is the worst thing in the world to be referred to as. Like, let's just say, I get it. You don't want to be referred to as an anti-Semite. I would suggest that you say to this friend, okay, well, would you prefer a starving baby to die? Or would you prefer to be thought of as something that you don't want to be thought of?
Which is why when so many people in this country say, I'm not privileged, and I would say there is different degrees of privilege. We are a privileged nation because we are surrounded by, well, usually anyway, we're surrounded by allies, and we're surrounded by two major bodies of water. We don't live in a country where we have to worry about bombs raining down from above on us every day. And a lot of people in a lot of places, they have to worry about things like that. And in the United States, that is not traditionally a problem.
No.
And to think about the type of problems that do exist, that get fabricated out of nowhere. If there is a person, and I think this is a good place to start, if there is a person who has truly embodied the type of leadership that we desperately need on the global scale, is without question Francesca Albanese. And the way that she has put herself in harm's way, even though, as it has been pointed out by you many a times before, she is not ideological.
She's just doing her job.
Just doing her job.
Psychotic about the whole thing. She's
not
just doing her job.
In no way, shape, or form has she been doing anything other than the right thing, which is calling what Israel is doing wrong. Colin, if you will, I need you to pull up the story that I sent you from earlier today. This just came out within the last few hours. So I didn't even get a chance to change the banner. I even thought about doing that. But I want people to know why today Francesca Albanese had her blue check mark removed. You can go back to what you were just at, Colin. Go back to that, please. She had her blue check mark removed by Elon Musk today on Twitter X. But there's more to the story. You see, this is what Francesca has been working on. These 60 companies she has brought to the world's attention are invested in Israel's infrastructure. Now, I can't see all of them, but I can see a few of them. I see Bay Systems, Lockheed Martin, Caterpillar. What the fuck is? Well, I know what. Now that I think.
Oh, are you kidding me? Excavation equipment.
Mm-hmm. Elbit Systems.
And there it is. BlackRock,
Google, Amazon, IBM, Microsoft, Palantir. Can't forget about Palantir. We all know they're involved. Dell. Who the hell buys Dells anymore? Chevron, BP, Volvo.
That's sad. I'm not going to take it out on Jason. He's not aware, and he just renews the lease he had from before. Can we just for a second? I'm going to put this out there. Maybe guys in the chat will have a good solution. So I am in the process of looking to open a new business bank account for art for Revolutionary Change. Can anybody please put in the least offensive banking institutions that you could think of that will not make it complicated for a small business? That's all. Thank you. Carry on. Because I'm sitting here while you're reading this list, and it's offensive, but you know, yeah.
Our trusty MVP behind the scenes letting us know that he lives in Central Texas by one of those Dell factories. You know, you can imagine that's a huge part of it too. You know, the government, when we talk about people that are in favor of the free market, there is no such thing as the free market. It's whoever greases the wheels of the right people and gets the contract. PFL League, hey, Jen and Peter, can you look up on Google 61% of Israeli men?
What about them?
I don't know what you mean by that, brother. You're going to have to, or sister, not sure, but you're going to have to.
Comrade.
Hyundai, Vanguard.
This is so aggravating to me because I do use both Airbnb and I use Booking.com. And here's the thing. We know that if you take apart any one thing, all roads lead to the same companies. Like you can only get so far. If you stay in any type of hotel, if you stay in any, like where would it not go to these companies?
That's true.
Any hotel chain, any of it, like where would it not lead to this?
Yeah, well, Maersk is, well, I feel bad because Volvo is typically considered like one of the good companies, supposedly, but obviously everyone's got a price. And then, of course, you find the biggest players of them all, Citigroup, JP Morgan Chase, Barclays, BlackRock, Maersk, Vanguard, any of the multinational banking corporations. Although it is nice to see that Bank of America is not there, although maybe they're hiding somewhere. I mean, anything's possible. But the fact is, they don't like when these things are pointed out. And so some douchebag, who I am not really familiar with, but of course his name just gives it away. Colin, if you will, please pull up the tweet. thread that I sent you earlier from this gentleman by the name of Hillel, I think is what his first name is.
Are you sure it's not from the organization, Hillel?
No, apparently this is what the guy goes by. And he's very proud of this, Jen. Keep in mind, very proud. Breaking. Hillel Newer.
Okay.
That explains it. Breaking. After our legal appeal to Elon Musk to enforce the new U.S. sanctions against Hamas terrorism, Hamas terrorism.
Oh my God.
Francesca Albanese.
Our legal appeal? What legal appeal to Elon Musk? Is he an appellate judge? Have I missed something?
Well, he is the judge, jury, and executioner of
Well,
the
I'm just curious. When you say a legal appeal, what does that mean? Did you file a lawsuit against?
I also want to remind people of this very important fact that a lot tend to forget. The only true social media town square that we have in the United States is Twitter, X. That's all we've got. That's a monopoly. By law, it shouldn't even exist. There should be competition. There is no competition. And the only things that are out there are Blue Sky and Truth Social. And what do they have in common? They are both hyper partisan, tiny, they're not even competitors. In fact, most people that are on Blue Sky and Truth Social are already on X, and they create a secondary account to go bitch to their, bubble over there. That's basically what they do. So just on the surface, it makes no sense. But in this case, he is doing a victory lap because he got Francesca Albanese's blue check removed, diminishing this UN anti-Semites reach, which again, Jen, as you like to point out, these Zionazis don't even know what the definition of Semite actually means.
Well, and the lunacy of it is, the UN was created after World War II as a response largely to the horrific atrocities that happened in the Holocaust and following World War II. Like, the whole point of the reason that Francesca's position exists was so that we wouldn't have the situation that we're having. So the lunacy of referring to anything having to do with the United Nations and her in particular, but just in the United Nations as an anti-Semitic entity when it was created post-Holocaust to address these issues of international crimes against humanity. Like, that's the whole point.
Colin, I don't know if you can blow up that legal eagle, if I can even read this. Mr. Elon Musk. Dear Mr. Musk, we write on behalf of UN Watch, a nonprofit organization dedicated to holding the UN accountable to its founding principles, to bring your attention that X Corp is providing prohibited services to Francesca Paola Albanese. And
wait. I don't understand this. But okay. So then what I need to understand or know is, what is the United Nations Watch? Because okay. A nonprofit organization means so many different things. What does that mean? Is it a PAC? Is it a 501c3? What is its, anything could be a nonprofit organization, I assure you. So I don't know what that means. And I don't know under what authority they seem to think that they have. That's what's so interesting about this. Like,
well, it's not even a question.
Some unknown organization.
But here's the problem. It's not a question of whether they legitimately have authority or not. They are showing you that they do because Musk adhered to what they wanted.
Well, of course, but I'm just saying this is how ridiculous this is. And he is referring to this as his legal matter. This is not a legal matter. It's bullying. That's all it is. It's bullying. And here's the thing is, you're bullying a bully. So it's kind of funny. But Elon Musk, it's like, you really don't have to bully him. You could just say, hey, do this. And he will, because he doesn't really care one way or the other.
If anything affects his bottom line, that's all.
Exactly.
On July 9th, 2025, pursuant to President Trump's Executive Order 14203, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio designated Ms. Albanese for full blocking sanctions on the grounds that she directly engaged with the ICC, the International Criminal Court, in efforts to investigate, arrest, detain, or prosecute nationals of the U.S. or Israel. Again, I don't understand what the crime is here. Without the consent of those two countries, again, no one needs approval. You don't
Okay,
need.
so let me explain how ridiculous this is. Okay. So, in other words, you need the person's consent that you're arresting to arrest them if they're acting in violation with international law. So then essentially any rogue state can just do whatever it wants. Like, right? Like we would have no authority over anybody if they don't subject themselves to that authority. So this whole thing is really stupid. I'm just saying. I am curious. And who is it who wrote this?
Hillel Noir, I guess is his name.
Hillel.
Hillel.
Wait, is this somebody with legal training?
He's well, we'll get to that in a minute.
All right, I hope not. And if so,
gross infringement on the sovereignty of both countries, and that the pursued campaigns of political and economic warfare which threaten U.S. national interests and sovereignty, Ms. Albanese's designation and threat to U.S. national security and armed forces. Again, this is why we have to cut ties with our greatest ally. Because again,
I say that's not how it needs to be worded or phrased, and I think that's misleading. Anywho, continue.
There are very powerful entities within the United States that believe that we are to be one and the same with Israel. And the overwhelming majority of Americans do not want this. So I understand that you're saying that it's one and the same, maybe for the power structure at the top, but most people don't want this.
I understand they don't want it. I don't want it, but it is. So I don't think that Israel or not think that they're an independent entity. I know they're not an independent entity. If an entity cannot exist on its own, it is thereby not an independent entity. Israel is an extension of American empire, and they cease to exist the minute that American empire decides it's done with the experiment. So to say that we're going to cut ties with them, again, it's like, yes, we could amputate our limb and just watch it die off. That's true. But it's not like if we cut ties with it, it will just go on existing on its own and we'll go on existing on our own. Jen, there is no cutting ties with it.
Jen?
Yes.
And of course, good to see Zaina. Haven't seen you in a while, my friend.
Hi, Zaina.
Make sure, guys, we have over 210 people watching already, but only 104 of you have smashed that like button. If you would, please smash it so that this can get out to more people. We would really appreciate it very, very much. Colin, can you go to the next slide, please? No, I think there's, there was another, wasn't there a second one, or am I wrong? This is the only, yeah. So basically these guys are, yeah, okay. So if you want to pull up that clip of Francesca divulging info, Ria Hamas, again, all of these things have been debunked despite what Hillel has to say. So if you could pull up that audio clip of Francesca real quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's people like, yeah, that letter was written by somebody who sounds to me stupid. So the fact that that is his reference, like that's him bullying X, threatening to make some claim based on what? What the fuck standing do you have, Hillel?
So evidently, this this lawsuit, if you will, was brought against Francesca from over a year ago that she made this particular statement. So never forget, when we talk about the Johnny-come-latelys, Francesca's been on this from day one.
Look, there are different views on what happened on October 7, but the thing is, the violence of that day, which was brutal for the Israelis, but that brutality was also, there were fabrications attached to it, like the mass rape and other horror stories.
In the West, the mainstream media has replicated and amplified the lies we have heard. And I said, sometimes I look at politicians and journalists who have repeated lies. But what's the need to talk about mass rapes? There is no evidence of rape.
On October the 11th last year, you said on X, Hamas's crimes, including rape, have not been confirmed. And you said that divulging information about the perpetration of rape by Hamas risks to escalate tensions and endanger lives in a volatile context. Now, a report from the UN in March of this year said there are reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related sexual violence, including rape and gang rape, occurred across multiple locations of Israel and the Gaza periphery during the attacks on 7th of October. Do you now accept that they happened?
I prefer to rely on the report on the two reports issued this year by the Commission of Inquiry, because unlike the Patel's report, the special representative of the Secretary General went to Israel, did an interview, any victims, made very controversial statements. I respect her, but at the same time, I respect the findings of a fact-finding body whose job is to collect evidence. If rape occurred, it should have been investigated, prosecuted, and the responsible people should be held to justice.
But the UN says it did happen.
No, the point is, no,
you
the
work
UN
at the UN.
No, the UN, the UN is a, there are political appointees and then human rights appointees. And the Commission of Inquiry concluded that there was in June, that there was no evidence to support the claims of gang rape. But let's assume, I don't want to say anything that I've not investigated. So let's assume that rape occurred. So
I just want to ask you about this
we got to pause.
Project report. They're now saying there's evidence.
She's just, is it me? Her voice is so appealing to me. Now, I am not really like into chicks. It's not my thing, but I got to tell you, the Italian lady sound, it like Isabella Rossellini, Sophia Loren, like she just sounds so good. And yeah, she sounds so good. I don't even know how anybody could argue with her.
Well, keep in mind that clip with, with Piers was from almost a year ago. And remember, Piers was very much supporting Israel. So even then, she wasn't taking his shit, even though his tune has obviously changed. But she knew all of what was going on and was not letting up. That's the beauty of it all, is that she really has been relentless about justice. And of course, when it comes to the Israel lobby, they don't deal in justice. They just deal in censorship and silence because their project cannot be defended. And now it really can't be defended. But the beautiful thing about it is they're just going to seal their own fate. Their activities, their actions, they will succumb because they have nothing else to do. They will just hasten it. They don't know how to delay it.
They took away her blue check is the point of this whole thing.
Which is
based
just
on all of this horrid evidence of her speaking out on behalf of humans.
Yeah, no sense whatsoever. Okay, Colin.
Evidence, sexual violence was widespread and systematic on October 7, especially around the Nova Music Festival. I just want to get your reaction to that.
Look, I cannot comment on this report, which is the first time I hear of. However, there has been an investigation of the Commission of Inquiry on Israel-Palestine about what happened on October 7. And it's been very difficult for the Commission of Inquiry to access the victims. I've read other reports written by including Israeli sources, Physicians for Human Rights, who have backtracked from what they said in the beginning. So of course, I cannot pronounce myself on violence that I don't know of. If it has occurred, of course it deserves justice. There is no question about that.
But again, that evidence doesn't exist. It was all made up propaganda because, as we've stated before, there is ample evidence already being displayed that Netanyahu knew about what was going to happen on October 7th way before that it did. The tragedy of Bernie Sanders and how he's destroying his legacy by still going out there in front of the national public and saying it was 1,200 people that were killed and there was mass rape and the baby beheading. I'm like, they're still going with it, which is a tragedy within itself. And I'm still not convinced that they don't actually know the truth, that they're just saying it whether to protect certain people. It's eventually all going to collapse. If you come after Francesca Albanese, you will lose.
Well, it's just so absurd. And so what we're saying is, so Elon Musk caved to some nonprofit organization with a letterhead that is telling him that she did things that were her job. And so therefore she should lose her check, which I'm sure that's not anything she's crying about.
Yeah. And therein lies the thing. Francesca knows what she's worth. She knows what she brings to the table. She isn't going to apologize for doing what is necessary for humanity. And even though there are a lot of people out there that are afraid to do the right thing, to stand up and say what needs to be said, she is willing to take on all of that ire, all of it, even if it means risking frankly, her safety. I mean, I have no doubt that they have, she's been threatened, but she's definitely.
But she's been doing this for years. Like, this is now, more people are obviously aware of it since October 7, 23. But this has been her position, I believe, since like 2014. I mean, she's been doing this a long time and dealing with the wrath of everybody that is a Zio, whether it's here or in the UK or wherever it is, calling her anti-Semitic anytime she has ever said anything against the occupation, which again, that's her job, is to speak out against human rights violations in Palestine. That's like literally what her job is.
Guys, we've got over 250 people watching, but only 147 of you have hit that like button. So
how is that possible?
You would be so kind. Make sure to smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed, especially if you're new here. We're being the key word, about transforming politics into service. But our mission is about bringing real revolutionary change to not just the United States, but around the world. And obviously, the central focus has to be on the state of Israel. And so on the flip side of somebody like Francesca Albanese, who does the right thing and says what needs to be said, even at the risk of her career, perhaps her livelihood, dare I say, even her life, there are plenty of people in high places that have kept their mouths shut. And that should be met with a great deal of scorn and anger and ire. However, there are also people who pretend to be allies, pretend to be on the side of justice. And in reality, they are anything but on the side of justice. And of course, I'm talking about Leonardo DiCaprio, who I debated addressing on Saturday, but I figured, you know what? It'd probably be good to have Jen here to talk about him. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's not talented or that he doesn't have some acting chops. He absolutely does. And I will tell you that DiCaprio's best work was actually at the beginning of his career. If you haven't seen Basketball Diaries, if you haven't seen This Boy's Life with De Niro.
What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
What's Eating Gilbert Grape? Got nominated for that. Even Romeo and Juliet with Claire Danes. Like, he was good when he was young. And even Titanic. He was very good in Titanic. I'm not going to say he wasn't. But this idea that he's like an all-world talented actor in the vein of like a Philip Seymour Hoffman or a Daniel Day-Lewis, he's not that guy. Like,
I don't know. I mean, look, Leo's had definitely some good roles, whether it was in Django, whether it was in Catch Me If You Can. I mean, he's definitely had.
Sorry.
He's definitely, look, this is not about whether or not he's talented. This is about whether or not he's a piece of shit. And or a pederast or both. And the problem is, like, I personally don't have any horse in that race. I couldn't care less. Like, I've never been like, I thought a lot of his movies were good, but I don't really care. Yeah, The Departed. I mean, he's definitely had good movies.
The Departed. Watermelon Club, if you're going to spell it the right way. There are no O's up in New England, okay? It's Departed. So 2 A's. Departed.
And so, I mean, he is, but that's not the issue, right? I found it gross when I saw him at the Bezos wedding. I found that kind of just very.
I didn't even know that he was at the Bezos wedding.
Oh, and he was so ridiculous there, because the photos of him and the videos of him show him trying to like cover who he is with his hat, like as if you can't see.
You know, kind of
is.
like Cory Booker when he was at the AIPAC meeting and he was trying to stand in the back so that people couldn't see that he was there. Kind of like that. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that it was very clear who it was. Nobody was fooled. And, you know, even the environmental impact that people were talking about, you know, he's always put himself out there as this big environmental guy and doing all this environmental stuff. And I don't know about that one way or the other. I think he's just a capitalist. And really the idea that you would participate in a wedding involving that amount of environmental impact on a place like Venice it's just, you shut your mouth.
Well,
shut your mouth about the environment. Just shut it.
Well, the truth is that he doesn't really care.
No, of course not. But so that was shitty enough. That was shitty enough. And quite honestly, the young women thing, that wasn't ever a problem for me. I don't care. As long as people are legal and they're consenting, that's between him and him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. But over time, it has gotten creepier, right? Like, you know, you can keep sort of like trading younger and younger, and then it just sort of gets creepy as you get older and older.
Yeah.
And he's definitely, I think, gotten to the creepy stage.
And I think,
and now there's this.
Yeah. And so what I was alluding to is that as talented as he may be or lack thereof, he is definitely in a protected class, whatever that is. He is in a class where he is getting certain roles, all of these things that come to his benefit. And I'm not saying that because he apparently is affiliated with the Netanyahus or Satanyahus, as they are really to be called, or the Milikowskis. Is that how you say their name? Milikowski? Is that how you
Milikowski.
So the Milikowskis, as you can see here with Leo, the idea that he would even take a publicity photo with them at any time is a reflection of a person who just doesn't give a fuck. I mean, obviously he doesn't. And I just think that people who want to celebrate people like this, it is of great detriment to our culture, just as a whole. I mean, we know we're a failed culture in so many ways. I mean, for goodness sake, you know, you have people that like to watch shows like the Kardashians, for God's sake.
So clearly he has no like reservation about being. When was this picture?
Like, I wonder think this picture was from this picture may have been from a handful of years ago.
Right.
I'm not 100%
sure.
The
current project that has been in the forefront that he is somehow involved in, I am curious as to if that was supposed to be leaked in terms of his involvement with it, or if he is freaking out that people know, because that's going to hurt. I don't know. Did he get exposed?
Well, here's the thing. He is part of an investment group. He has about a 10% stake, but I'm going to leave it to credit to Alicia Magdalena. I pulled this from Instagram. This will explain the full details of this hotel investment project in what is considered the Mediterranean Riviera, where this hotel is being built. But Jen, very important, it's the most eco-friendly hotel in the Middle East.
He's killed. You know what? If this is what people like Leo want to do with their legacy,
hey,
have at
blow it up. Same thing with
have
Bruce.
at it.
It is what it is.
I
man.
won't. Well, right,
Leonardo DiCaprio is
okay. Yeah, no, let it play. I was just going to say I won't see another one of his movies. I won't see another Leo movie.
Just like, and we will get to this. I mean, it's not like I was doing it anyway, but I would be advising everybody never, ever, ever shop at American Eagle.
All right, we're going to get to that.
Someone said it's the youngest country he could think of. Leonardo DiCaprio's public image has long been built on environmental advocacy and humanitarian causes. So when news broke that he's a partner in an Israeli luxury hotel project, a lot of people were stunned, especially because it comes at a time when the world is witnessing.
I mean, if you can just look at an image like that of Gaza, of Rafah, and you know that you are built. I mean, think about it. It's like somebody who builds a luxury apartment building on top of an ancient Indian burial ground. People just don't have a soul. Like it's not within them to think, because it takes a certain type of sociopath to just say, yeah, it sucks, but I got to get my money, baby. Like, that's more important to me. I got to get my money. And I don't care what it takes for me to get it. There are people who kill for money.
Has he made a statement or a comment since
he has not said one word?
Okay, so when was this? Because I know this was from a few days ago. Because I know we wanted to wait and talk about it. But so
Correct.
he got basically outed as a part investor in this project, and
Correct.
even though he's not the main person, he's an investor in this project, and there is no excuse. So the question then becomes, if he makes a comment, if he does anything about it, or if he just sticks with it, because he, up until right now, could have claimed, I didn't know they were investing in this. Who knows how many things he's invested in all reality. If he's a whatever percent owner, I mean.
My understanding, and I don't know if this goes back to him dating Bar Raffaelli, if that had anything to do with it.
Well, the picture with him and Bibi was telling in and of itself too. So I get it.
And the reason why is that apparently he has been involved in this hotel project. This has been planned for almost a decade. This is not something that just came out of nowhere.
Of course. No, of course not. They don't, we've talked about that. You can't just pull that together. That's not, they have photos, they have images, they have a whole plan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But again, he's probably worth somewhere in the neighborhood of at least $250 million. Like, he's worth a shitload of money. You are under no obligation to stay involved in this investment. We're going to get to why I think he's still involved in it. Just Gal Gadot is over 25.
She's way too old for him, Travers. She's way too old for him.
Genocide in Gaza at the hands of Israel, and DiCaprio has said absolutely nothing about it. I guess we now know why. The land this hotel sits on, like all land in occupied Palestine, is part of an ongoing settler colonial project. When celebrities invest in luxury tourism in Israel, they're helping normalize apartheid and whitewash occupation. People online have been dragging DiCaprio for blatant hypocrisy. If you're going to speak on global justice, people expect you to act like it matters when genocide is happening in real time. This isn't his first controversy. His name also.
And there's the answer. I saw somebody in the comment section saying, was Leo on the Lolita Express? It seems possible, if not likely.
No, there's a little bit more to that too. Don't worry. I've come with the receipts. That's why we provide you guys with wonderful service here. Hope you're enjoying it.
Okay, so I was going to say, you make sure that when you play these, that you put links to stuff in our thing so people can find them?
100%. 100%.
Okay, because this is good. This girl did a good job. Who is she?
She did a very good job. Yeah, Alicia Magdalena.
Okay.
I'm not too familiar with her, but yeah, these videos are, again, this information, it is always so, it's everything. And this is, again, the reason why when everybody says, oh, Trump doesn't want the Epstein list to come out. And it's like I try to tell people, no, he clearly doesn't. And whether he's a child effer or not, there are a shitload of rich and powerful people that are. And they don't want this to come out. And the biggest reason they don't want it to come out is because they know that once the cat's out of the bag, it's never going back in again. I mean, we all know that Bill Gates is involved in stuff like that. We know Alan Dershowitz is involved in stuff like that. But there's tons of others. What if Leonardo DiCaprio, who's been a heartthrob to women all across this country for 25 years, 30 years, and they find out that this guy's actually a despicable human being? I mean, that is a tough pill to swallow. For a lot of people, they can't deal with something like that. That's too much. And he, in particular, is somebody that is a lot harder to just cast aside than somebody like a Donald Trump, somebody like a Bill Clinton. You know,
why?
Because DiCaprio, for a lot of people, like I said, he's like a heartthrob. Like, to them,
well, and look, everybody has to contend with their own disappointing people in their lives. Like you have to with Bruce. Like we all have to deal with our own disappointing.
But you know what? But that in many ways is a reflection of our American culture in general. The celebrity worship in the United States, the only other country that even touches that element of pop culture behavior is the UK. That's it. We really are unique in the world in how we view celebrity. Like there are certain people that are revered around the world, like major football stars, and I'm talking real football, people, you know, like a Ronaldo or a Messi, you know, people like that, they are revered. But in terms of this idea that the average actor or actress that you see on TV is, you know, everybody wants to follow everything that they're doing 24/7. The other parts of the world have it, but it's very unique in American culture. And if somebody like DiCaprio, among several others, is involved in the worst type of depravity, it's going to be very hard for people.
I don't
to swallow.
see how anybody would be surprised, because the reality is, I know we like to throw around the word pedophile, but this is not pedophilia. Okay.
No.
These are all right. These are not, it's completely disgusting, lecherous, and abusive, and it's rape, but it's not pedophilia. And when you look at somebody like Leo, who has always dated women that are just legal, right? It's not far-fetched.
No.
To think he you know, went a little younger. That's the thing. These aren't pedophiles.
No.
That's a very different thing.
Yes, and that is fair. There's a difference between a guy who fancies a 16-year-old girl and a guy who fancies a 10-year-old girl.
Or a little boy or girl. Like, that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's different. And again, still
100%.
disgusting, still
is.
rape,
It is.
non-consenting people, still assault. But I just think that it's people like to just, you know, should at least know what we're talking about.
Brett, take care of that. You know, take care
Okay,
of
Travers,
the
that's
Nazi
friggin'
please.
awesome.
Yeah, it's called. What's it called?
Seinfeld.
Yeah. Why do you must make fun of me? I didn't do
Well,
it.
he married like a teenage babysitter. I mean, he's another one. He's another one that wouldn't surprise me, although he probably wasn't invited to Epstein's Island, but he's another one who always liked people a little on the younger side.
Seinfeld gives me the "I'll pay for it" vibe. Like, if he just wants what he wants, you just pay for it.
Appeared in connection with the Epstein scandal. Will the project move forward? Probably, but DiCaprio's reputation as a humanitarian might not. As a matter of fact, tag someone who still thinks Leo is an activist.
That is such a great picture.
Screw Leo.
Screw Leo.
Screw Leo. And we had talked about it before, and you know, the same thing for Ozzy Osbourne, Izzy Ozzy. That's his legacy, is he went down, like, died for, you know, speaking praises to the Zio state.
You guys want another reason why I think there's a lot more than meets the eye with DiCaprio? This is why.
There's that. And look how young he was. So who knows when that started? Because another person who started very, very young in Hollywood. I mean, how old was he when he was on Growing Pains? He was like 13.
Growing Pains was like late 80s, early 90s.
It was like 13, 14. I mean, he was young.
Yeah. No, but these are choices. And you could see how effed up somebody like Corey Feldman is, but he's been sounding the alarm forever. He has been saying that Hollywood is run by a legion of child fuckers. Like, this is what these people do. They are the abusers of the highest order. And a lot of them are connected to Israel. And I'm not saying they're all guilty of it, but Diddy is one piece of the equation.
Well, it's interesting. I'd love to see, like, if it ever really, all the information would come out over time that you could piece it all together, the interconnectedness between Epstein, Diddy, the Mossad, all of it, you know, because there's definitely crossover in that world between Diddy and Epstein.
Oh, absolutely there is. Which is why it wouldn't surprise. Well, again, this is why I am of the belief that there's always been, these are all connected pieces of the highest levels of society. It's like Clive Davis. It's not by accident. There's a reason why the cream rises to the top. And it's just, it is what it is. And I feel bad for those that have been through this hell. And there are those who even go so far as to say, well, you know, they know what they're getting themselves into when they go into that world. But not necessarily. And
yeah, but kids, when you're non-consenting, you are dependent on the adults to make those choices, because we've deemed as a civilization that you're too young to make those choices for yourself. And he was definitely underage. So
Yes.
he's hanging out. I
Yes.
mean, just looking at him in this picture, he's underage.
Well, look, I mean, remember Linda Blair talked about it constantly. You know, when she got the role of a lifetime in The Exorcist, it ruined her life because this was a young girl. This was a girl who was 13 years old, 14 years old, and she was getting into places that you had to be 21, and she was getting alcohol, and older men wanted to sleep with her and all this stuff. And she's just one. There's tons of other examples out there. You know, the casting couch is no joke. And that's just one example.
But like that picture, it's so just screams of him being groomed by them.
Yeah, I would say that's
and then and the reality is we know that predators, you know, create other predators. That's how it happens. Just like, you know, people who are abused are often abusers. Not always, and there are people that stop the cycle, but oftentimes people that are abused become abusers. And it's in the case of Israel, okay? Like victims of a Holocaust are now perpetrators of a Holocaust. And you see people like this being groomed and indoctrinated into whatever this is at ages 13. And, you know, it's not surprising that their social emotional development is screwed up and stunted, and thereby they end up only being able to be interested in people that are also that age when they got stunted. This is what happened to Michael Jackson. When you take it is, I do believe that. That's why he was not able to be comfortable around people his age and always had to be around young people.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say in Michael's defense is that I do believe that because his father forced him and his siblings into that world when he was, 5, 6 years old, you know, he never got to, I mean, he really is an example of somebody who never got to experience childhood and adolescence and teenage years and growing up and being any type of a normal kid, which is why when he was seen hanging out with Macaulay Culkin in the late 80s, early 90s, I think that in many ways was just reflective in the fact that Michael in many ways was a kid himself. Like he was never emotionally mature in any way because he never had an opportunity to be.
Well, and I feel like that's what happens with a lot of these kids, right? It gets stolen one way or another. And yes, they're making a choice in some regards, but we've deemed that any choices you make under a certain age are not really your choice because we've said so. That's you know, true. So no, I think that it's very believable. But again, now that he has, let's say he didn't know that he was all in on this Gaza thing. It'll be interesting to see if he says anything now that this has been like he's been outed as a Zio, as like a, you know, wanting to contribute to the Zio state.
So I just want to touch on real quick. DiCaprio linked a luxury hotel at Herzliya Marina.
Herzliya. It's Herzliya.
Yeah.
I've been there. I've been to Herzliya.
I'm sure it's pretty nice, isn't it?
It is beautiful.
Hollywood actor and producer would own 10% of the environmentally friendly 14-floor, 365-room hotel project first announced in 2018. So this is a project that he has been working on for over 7 years, probably almost 8. And so plans for this hotel is
he was dating the Israeli model. Maybe that's when this started.
I mean, listen, anything's possible. DiCaprio would have, so this would be in the Tel Aviv District Planning and Building Committee gave the approval for it. So DiCaprio would have a 10% stake in the 14-floor hotel. The Financial News reports the 51,000 square meter project will comprise 365 rooms across 2 buildings. Luxury amenities will include a large swimming pool, a conference center, commerce spaces and restaurants, and a yacht marina accessible directly through the hotel. The plan also includes 8,000 square meters of underground space for parking and other operations. So what this basically sounds to me like is it's just another form of a casino hotel. It's Monte Carlo. That's basically what this is. This is Monte Carlo. They want to bring it there, and he wants to get rich off of it, which if he has a 10% stake in a project of this size, he's probably got $20 million invested in it easily, maybe more. It's what it is.
It's gross.
And he is gross.
He is
Two ways about it.
gross. Yeah.
Guys, we really appreciate you being here. And if you are so inclined, we've gotten up. We're at 280 right now. We were at 350. If you are so inclined, please go to patreon.com/revolutionary change.
Well, first you should always offer please feel free to join us here on YouTube. Become a member here on YouTube. It's always
on Patreon first, because that always does better in terms of less money is taken out. So if you could go to patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month, you could become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. We are approaching 48,000 subscribers as we speak. We want to get to that 50,000 mark if we can. If you are new here, please make sure that you subscribe. We do want to give a shout out, of course, to our super chatters so far. Piano Man with the $10. Always great to see you. And thank you so much for your contribution. Really means a lot. JG1982, one of our biggest supporters. Thank you for the $5. Welsh is a good traditional boomer with her views, but we need all types to fight. She's 99% good on issues, I believe. Hey, listen, I am not disagreeing.
I don't know. I don't follow.
I'm not disagreeing with her takes for the most part, but I think her commentary in many ways leaves a lot to be desired. She is honing in on the right approach, though, when it comes to Israel-Palestine. So credit where credit is due. I'm not disputing that. Kenman with the 279. Thank you so much for the 279 Canadian aid. Who the Hillel is this clown to criticize Albanese? Well, a Zionist.
A Zionist. And his nonprofit organization.
Nonprofit. And Kenman again with the 279 Canadian aid. DiCaprio dislikes Palestine because it's over 25. Well, I guess that's up for debate, but we'll take you at your word.
Terrible.
Right about that one.
Terrible.
And Kenman with the 699 Canadian A. Seinfeld, what is the deal within Palestine? They're not on our pal, and nobody there is named Stein. What is the deal? Yeah, in a big way. But that's Seinfeld. That's who he is. He's a scummy.
That's the thing for me. Although, now that I won't ever watch it anymore, because I used to always watch it in syndication and whatever, and now I won't even I won't put it on. And so now I am a Golden Girls girl, and I'm back with those ladies. And it's the same time frame when I would be zoning out, like right before bed. I'll put on that, so I'm good. I got Blanche, I got Dorothy, Sophia. I'm good.
Betty White and Estelle Getty were two of the funniest women to ever do TV. Like that was
I love them. I love the Golden Girls. I love it. Yeah.
And the way that they ended the show with Frank Drebin, I mean, it was just so well done. It really was.
I know.
You remember the finale, right?
But Dorothy got married.
To Leslie Nielsen. It was very well done. Because again,
I know it was a little bit sad, but yeah.
Yes. And and the way that it ended was she couldn't leave. She didn't want to leave. And they kept having these near misses. Like, was she going to go? Was she going to go? She finally did. It was, what is
Golden Girls? Now, I don't know. I think that might be somebody that's in Palestine. That might be somebody I don't know. It's somebody who doesn't live here. Golden Girls was a television show, a comedy television show in the 80s, maybe not early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, with 4 older women. Ironically, they were my age when they did Golden Girls. Like it's so funny. Yeah, like they all looked so. It was the style and everything.
Well, not Estelle Getty. But the rest of them.
Estelle Getty was the youngest of them.
Is that true?
Yes.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, I am most definitely sure. Estelle Getty was the youngest of them, and she played Sophia. That was makeup. And so yeah, you didn't know that?
I did not know that. No.
No, that's the truth. But yeah, I mean, everybody looked kind of older and dated. I mean, their hair, all of it, but yeah, so it's a show about 4 women living together later on in life, and it's just funny, and even when they're bitchy, and it's just there's this like soul to that show. It's a sweet show.
Oh, I agree. I got a kick out of it. My late grandmother and even my grandfather, they really liked it.
It's 4 old women, Jan. 4 old women. It's 3 women that are approximately the same age and one of their mothers. So then there's the older one who's like the mother's age. But yes.
I hate to ever give Wasserman Schultz credit for anything, but it is true that the Golden Girls were created by a Jewish Zionist Israel supporter.
That would be a large amount of my childhood in the 70s television.
Yeah.
Figure it out, whether you pick my favorite 70s sitcom and you're dealing with somebody in the production level that was a Zio. I cannot go down that rabbit hole. I just can't.
It is what it is.
Yes.
Why don't we talk about a positive story?
What do we have?
So a lot of people are wondering, is Zohran Mamdani for real? Does he actually have the chops to follow through on the plans that he has? Is he just a Johnny-come-lately who knew exactly what to say when he was running for mayor of New York City? He was a council member, and now he has the opportunity to make a real, not just a generational change, but a revolutionary change in New York City that could be felt throughout the whole country and beyond. So, even though they do not currently have an active channel anymore, got to give a shout out to the Gravel Institute guys who did a lot of quality content when they were actively pursuing a channel to compete with obviously PragerU, but they're not funded by oil billionaires like PragerU is, so it's a lot harder to keep it up. However, some very quality work came of it, including this piece of video from Zohran Mamdani back in 2020.
Truth is, this crisis didn't begin with the pandemic. In fact, housing has been in crisis for a very long time. Even before the pandemic, in places like New York or Los Angeles or San Francisco, median rents for even one-bedroom apartments could approach $2,500 a month or more. About a third of people in Los Angeles spend a majority of their income on housing. In New York City, about 20% of all renters pay most of their income to their landlord. And in my district, Astoria, about a quarter of residents have to spend most of their paycheck on rent. And the crisis isn't just in big cities. In 95% of all US counties, workers making the minimum don't make enough to afford a one-bedroom rental on their own. The Harvard Center for Housing Studies warns of a new normal for housing in the United States, in which nearly half of all renter households spend almost a third of their income on rent. That's why even before the fallout from the coronavirus started to hit, more than 500,000 Americans nationwide were already homeless, millions more on the brink of losing their housing, and countless families struggling every month to make ends meet.
Can I ask you how this is supposed to be a positive note? You had said we're going to do something on a positive note. I'm not finding this all that positive.
Well, you have somebody who's trying to help the problem. And the one thing I will say when somebody
and don't get me wrong, I think he's a cutie poo, but it's still not, this is not positive. This is morbid.
If somebody is spending a third of their income on just rent alone, that there are so many other things that you have to account for. There is those cost of living components like food, travel, taxes. What are you doing to put money away? That's what makes it so difficult. In reality, if you're spending over 20% on your rent or mortgage, you're spending more than you really should have to. But unfortunately, we live in a world today where there are people that are spending 50% of their income on their living condition. So it's pretty bad. And obviously,
but the point is, he's been talking about this for quite some time, and he has obviously this has been housing is one of his main issues as somebody that's in the New York State Assembly. So this is somebody who has been walking the walk already.
Absolutely.
At the root of all of this suffering is the fact that in this country, housing is treated as a commodity, not a right. It's a consumer product, just like clothes or cars, that private businesses can sell on the market to make a profit. And if someone isn't able to pay, either because their landlord raised their rent or because they can't work for one reason or another, they're not able to stay in their homes. If they're lucky, they can live with friends or family, or maybe in transitional housing for a bit. But for a lot of people, they have nowhere else to go, and they end up sleeping on the streets. In December 2019, the number of people sleeping in homeless shelters in New York reached 19,000 people, an all-time high. 100,000 New York City students are homeless. That's more than 10% of the entire student population. Why do so many people end up homeless? It's not because there aren't enough homes to go around. There are plenty of empty homes. No, it's because housing people is not the primary goal of developers or landlords. Their goal, simply put, is to make a profit.
And there it is. It's just another example of where universal basic services that are things that should just be part of our civilization because we've advanced to the point where we could all have those things. That's the beauty of it. But yet here, because of capitalism, everything has a profit motive. So everything, whether it's housing, healthcare, or education, corrections, things that should not have a profit motive for basic services. It's a huge problem. And, there are countries, I want to say, I think it's Austria is a country that a huge percentage of their people live in what is government housing. And government housing is a wide range of different types and styles of housing. And there's nothing unusual about that. It's just considered part of life as you get healthcare, housing, education. Like, it's just how this should be.
One of the hardest parts about working in commercial real estate and also being involved in the multifamily space is a couple of factors. Number one, when you're dealing with anything related to low-income housing, there are no standards. In fact, people tend to live like animals in the worst conditions that you could possibly imagine. It would be a lot easier to maintain good housing in this country if we actually had legitimate regulation on how people are living. You want to get a subsidy for the government, you have to actually care about the community that you're living in. Now, that's part A. Part B is that when it comes to housing in the United States, particularly housing in which contracts are given, as you can see in this graphic right here, look in the corner, ladies and gentlemen, what do you see? Luxury condos, not affordable housing, luxury condos, because the overwhelming majority of housing in a country that has not enough housing as we speak, what type of housing gets built? Housing that is built for profit, housing that is built for the highest of high demographics. Workforce housing is very hard to find. And the only ones who are truly interested in that generally are ones that are finding another avenue to make the extra profit so that it's really no different if they were investing in luxury housing. And when we say that we need real regulation in the United States, this is a prime example of that. We don't have it. If even something as simple as a government-run grocery store, and we're only talking one in each borough, is going to level the playing field enough that the Greek billionaire grocery store owner of New York City is having a conniption fit over the prospect of just one in each borough appearing, that goes to show you how completely out of whack the system is and how there needs to be a course correction, perhaps a complete rethinking of how our economic and political system operates. But there is no question that what Zohran is talking about, even here 5 years ago, is correct.
And it's much more profitable to build luxury apartments for the rich than decent homes for the poor. This gives us a big shortage of homes for ordinary working people. For every 100 households that are extremely low income, there are only 36 affordable and available homes. As a result, we have plenty of housing for the rich, but poor and working class people don't have nearly enough on the market. So it's no surprise that in 1919, at the first elections ever held in Austria where all adult citizens could vote, the Social Democratic Party swept into power at the municipal level on the promise of dramatic social and economic reform. And they delivered. The new government of Vienna implemented a huge range of services, including public health care and public child care. They built high-quality hospitals, schools, and recreational facilities. But their crowning achievement was an ambitious program of social housing, what Americans call public housing, that began in 1923 and saw 60,000 new apartments constructed in the first year of its existence, built by the government and financed by taxes on the rich. But these weren't the kinds of apartments you might picture when you think of public housing in the United States. drab high-rises plagued by chronic neglect and underinvestment. Residents could enjoy leafy courtyards, wide-open spaces, and plenty of natural light. They had shared laundries, state-of-the-art kitchens, food co-ops, bathhouses, pharmacies, lecture halls, schools, and swimming pools. These apartments were designed to be both beautiful to look at and beautiful to live in, fostering a sense of shared community among the people who lived there. And the best part was that because the city didn't have to worry about making a profit, just about paying off their maintenance costs, these homes were both much nicer and much cheaper than what workers had previously known. In 1926, the average rent in Viennese social housing was about just 4% of a monthly wage. The first 15 years after Austrian independence saw its capital transform from a symbol of urban blight into a beacon of socialist governance.
I mean, just look at how beautiful that looks. That's what it did look like. And that, hold on. Can we just get on that image? Come on.
I don't understand what you're trying
capital
to
transform from a symbol of urban blight into a
I mean, that looks pretty nice to me, don't you think?
Yes. It looks lovely.
beacon of socialist governance. It became known as Red Vienna, after the official color of the socialists who had pioneered these changes. And even though Red Vienna fell in 1934 when the country was seized by fascists, who did what they could to roll back social housing, that commitment to good, cheap housing remained after the Second World War. Today, an astonishing 62% of all city residents live in social housing,
That's
with
what
the
I was
average
saying,
monthly rent falling
Vienna,
somewhere between
yeah.
$400 and $600 a month, with subsidies for lower-income tenants. That is a fraction of what people in America pay.
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about. They're Austrian. And it's totally a typical thing. I mean,
Bernie Sanders wants to turn America into Sweden. No, it's Zohran Mamdani that wants to turn America into Sweden. Maybe he's right. It's probably better than what we could say. Let me tell you, probably anything is better than what we have now. And this is why, if he becomes the next mayor of New York City, he's going to be a welcome change. He's going to be a breath of fresh air.
we shall wait and see. We shall wait and see.
They better hold
And
his feet to the fire.
it's still, there's a lot of things to happen still.
Yes. And there's also a lot of people that are going to push back on him. And there's also a lot of people that are going to be working against him, including...
If part of the issue with your party, do you think, is not embracing enough of the energy on the left flank of your party? You're seeing what's happening in your neighboring state in New York. Zohran Mamdani, he's the Democratic candidate, Democratic socialist candidate there. Democratic leaders are not supporting him. Is that a problem?
You know, he's looking at him like, how in the hell did I allow you to back me into this corner and ask me this question?
And I cannot with Cory Booker.
Do you support him?
So you and I are going to have this conversation, and I'm going to say to you one day, I told you so. This is not a left-right issue. It really isn't. It is an authoritarian versus people who want pragmatic government that makes a difference in the lives of American people.
I'm sorry. So, who's the authoritarian?
Zohran is an authoritarian.
Is that what that's so? Okay. Okay.
I mean, that's pretty funny if you ask me.
This man who dances like a fucking puppet for AIPAC and probably doesn't have an independent thought outside of what Big Pharma tells him to do. He's sitting here and suggesting that Zohran is authoritarian. Okay, I just need to understand what we're dealing with here.
Oh, Lord.
One of these people that says the lines that divide us in America are not nearly as strong as the ties that bind us. Big corporations, people want to keep our eyes on the screen, want to pit us against each other and tell us how much we should hate each other. I'm sorry. The left-right lens is not the right lens to look at this right now. Right now it is, can we get back to the pragmatic work of governing?
About Mamdani, are you going to support him?
I have learned a long time ago, let New York politics be New York politics. We got enough challenges in Jersey. I got a governor's race. I'm supporting Mikey Sherrill. I got legislative races. That's where my energy is going to go going into November. New York City, I love you. You're my neighbor. You're about 10 miles from where I live. You guys figure out your elections. I'm going to focus.
Now, I will say this, and I do not say anything kindly about this piece of shit, because this is a whore of whores.
He doesn't need to be commenting on New York politics.
No, and that I do agree with. It's
Yeah.
not like it's not in his district. That is different. So when you're talking to someone like Hakeem Jeffries, who's just sitting there and acting like, oh, I don't know him well enough to have an opinion. The hell you don't. You know, like that's ridiculous. Now with Cory Booker, he probably does, but he does have legitimate reason to not get involved in that race. And he's also a lying piece of shit. So it's like where multiple things can be true.
That's true. But the way that he cannot answer a question.
No.
Some of them are better at sidestepping. He's really bad at it. Like he does not know how to do it.
I think I can answer this for you, Jan. Also, I think Jan is in Ireland, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that the link between India and Israel is the supremacy. It's a matter of supremacy and a system that is about keeping people othered and lower. There is a lot of people in command in India that are, I mean, they're Hindu supremacists, like I guess you would call it, Hindu supremacists. And they also have issues with Muslims. And so they view Israel in a similar, they have a similar problem there with their Palestinians that we in India, supremacist Hindus, have with our Muslim population. We can't quite deal with it. So I think that's probably why India has a certain siding with Israel. Racism. Or bigotry, rather. Bigotry would be, yeah.
That's definitely a big part of it for sure. No two ways about it. But there is an even bigger, there's an even bigger issue at play here, which I think many of you are probably here to hear our thoughts on the whole Sydney Sweeney story. I got to be honest, I don't even know who she is really. I've never seen any of her work. I
didn't know who she was until they were talking about her at the Bezos wedding in Venice. I don't know anything about her. I don't know if she's an actress or a singer or a model. I don't know anything about her.
So she's an actress. She starred in a movie with Glenn, I can't remember his last name, but all of a sudden now she's being boosted, if you will. And now she has become a primary fixture in pop culture because American Eagle decided to do a big ad campaign, which again, if we're talking about it just from an ad perspective, and Colin, could you please grab what I sent you?
We're not going to put the ad up. Now, and I saw whatever it is everyone's talking about. It's like a total knockoff of Brooke Shields doing Calvin Klein when I was a kid. And I remember that very clearly when that ad came out and what that was and how ridiculous it was that they were sexualizing her because she was a child. Now, yes. Sydney Sweeney is an adult, from my understanding, correct?
Yes, she's an adult. I think she's 27 or something like that.
Okay. So this is, from that, in that respect, that's different right away. But I do know that they were trying to go for that vibe that Brooke Shields had.
Scroll down for a second, Colin. I just want people to see the image. So this is in front of the American Eagle headquarters in New York City. Sydney Sweeney has great jeans. She's wearing blue jeans. They're initially the ad was the word jeans as in G-E-N-E-S, and then it got X'd out, and then the word jeans was written there. Honestly, I hate this culture war shit. I really do. People. I
don't have a problem with any of that. Like that's just people. Honestly, we have serious issues with racism and systemic rot of our systems and supremacy and colonialism. We have some serious frigging issues. This woman's blue jean ad is so shouldn't even be like, it's not. Yes, well, we have a capitalist society that over-sexualizes women and also is based on white supremacy. Yes.
And again, this is the problem with the ad campaign, this whole idea of we are trying to target a white audience. Even if that is the case, there's plenty of advertising that goes on out there that people want to target for specific reasons. Again, Sydney Sweeney is somebody's cup of tea. She's not mine, but there are men out there who obviously like looking at her.
Okay, well, we don't need to keep looking at her, so take it down.
She wasn't like she was just picked at random, but
no, she's obviously popular enough that it made sense for them to use her as a model.
So, Colin, can you grab the 3 tweets that I sent you earlier? So the real story here is about not Sydney Sweeney. It's about
wait, we need to preface this. You gotta work on your
I'm trying to. You're cutting me off. What do you want to say?
We need to say
you go.
I'm going to prelude this with Peter had this idea that in order to cover this, we need to cover it differently. So we're going to cover it differently. So we don't really care one way or the other about the Sydney Sweeney jeans ad, right? Like that's stupid. So, but what Peter has done is he's taking it to the next level. So we have a whole, like, there's this whole new sort of, it has a story on the story.
We're calling this for now. We'll come up with a different term if you guys think
Zios Among Us.
No. Zios Among Us.
No, it's not. It's not. It needs to be basically our form of contribution to BDS. Information wherein you need to know who runs what companies where and shop accordingly. And this is one of those stories. So while everybody's talking about the jeans ad and the white supremacy with the jeans ad, which, yeah, I get it. The bigger issue is the white supremacy of the corporation. So here we go.
In terms of the accounts on social media that I think do a really great job, I think Z Squirrel is as good as any you're going to find in terms of in-depth research. And it should come as no surprise, American Eagle stock is up 25%. They did exactly what they intended to do. They knew exactly what type of controversy this ad was going to cause. And clearly it did.
I still don't understand really why.
Because with all due respect, and I understand there's a lot of sensitive people out there, but a lot of sensitive people ran with this idea that this American Eagle ad was a promotion of eugenics or was a promotion of white supremacy. And the only attractive people are white women with big boobs. It's like,
okay, so the problem I have with that premise, and again, that is definitely a cultural problem that we've been seeing systemic my whole life. And we know that colorism is a thing in terms of like lightness, darkness, and that is absolutely 100% real.
Yeah, I get it.
But then what we're saying is, so then anytime a white person does an ad where you're claiming you're so pretty. Well, any of them are going to claim that they're promoting a product, right? Like that's the product. The product is the jeans. So you're going to promote the jeans. Now, what if, let's say, for example, that was a black model and they did that, I would feel exactly the same way that I feel. Okay, so it's a really pretty girl and she's got good jeans because she's pretty. Like that's what I would think. So I get that it is white supremacist based because of our life here, but pretty could just be pretty too. This is about somebody pretty wearing jeans, right? Like that's the premise. So I don't know. I mean, it's all white supremacy, but the bigger issue is what we're going to talk about.
Yes. And that's why, like I said, I don't particularly find this to be as, again, if it were up to me and you want to do a good jeans type ad, you could have done one with a black woman, a white woman, a Spanish woman, an Asian woman, whatever. The really important issue here that, of course, has been completely swept under the rug that very few people are aware of or paying attention to is this. So from Z Squirrel, since Trump just posted about Sydney Sweeney, American Eagle ad, apparently Sydney Sweeney is a Republican. So now they're really running with this thing and trying to make it a dividing line. So trying to launder himself as an epic-based anti-woke hero through it, it's worth pointing out that the CEO of American Eagle is fanatical genocidal Zionist Jay Schottenstein, who is close personal friends with Netanyahu. They stoked this asinine contrived culture war bullshit to desperately try to claw young conservatives back to their side through OMG the wokes hysteria, while deflecting attention away from their precious Israeli death and rape cult's ongoing genocide.
That's the story. The story is that the CEO of American Eagle is a Zionazi.
Oh yeah.
And one of the benefits of this controversy is the distraction and more cover for the Holocaust that's going on. So that's the bigger story. And again, I am not saying that we don't have a serious white supremacy problem in this country. I'm not saying that at all. But I just, with this ad in particular, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
Another typical Zionist move from American Eagle CEO Jay Schottenstein. For U.S. ads like the Sydney Sweeney one, he shows women in revealing clothing. But in Israel, he bans women from performing in his concerts to not offend conservative Jews, shape-shifting from hyper-woke to anti-woke as it suits his interests. Well, of course, as a billionaire, it's always about the bottom line. That should come as no surprise.
Yeah.
And then we have one more, I believe, Colin. Fanatical, genocidal Zionist American Eagle CEO Jay Schottenstein, who funded Netanyahu's primary campaign. I mean, it's one thing to support the state of Israel. It's another thing to be a Zionazi. It's another thing to actually put your hands into Palestinian blood. And he has done just that. He has been funding Netanyahu's political career for decades. The CEO of American Eagle, who's worth billions of dollars. So when we talk about in this country, why is it so difficult for us to cut ties with Israel? It's because the billionaire hierarchy ruling class, I'm not saying it's all of them because it's not all of them, but is it a substantial portion of the billionaire class that is on board with the state of Israel through thick and thin, no matter what they do? The answer is yes. And when you have this type of money and power, it's very easy to manipulate the masses. And this is just American Eagle. This is not that impressive of a company. Look back at the list from earlier in the live stream with Francesca Albanese in the ones that she covered.
Yeah.
Those real powerful corporations, and they're all on board with Israel. This is a shit can of a, cheap Southeast Asian made department store clothing. There's nothing impressive about it, but he uses the money that he makes from you people going into his store and buying his clothing and giving it to Israel to commit genocide. It's hyperbolic to say that about everybody, but it is not hyperbolic to say it about Jay Schottenstein. We know he's doing that. So if you're going to BDS anybody, BDS the shit out of American Eagle.
And not because of the Sydney Sweeney ad.
The biggest mistake that motherfucker could have made was making an ad like this, giving himself a big financial boost, but now people are going to find out what a depraved motherfucker.
Right. I didn't know, but I wouldn't have shopped there anyway because I just don't shop in places like that.
Exactly. Also, set up a fund for the Israeli rape army when it began its ongoing genocide. So there's the proof. So you know he's funding the IDF. This is a pure Israeli Mossad asset who just randomly decided to launch a bullshit contrived culture war discourse when Trump's MAGA base was turning on him over him being exposed as a Zionist Epstein Mossad pedophile rapist. And now he's using it, again, Z Squirrel's words, not mine or Jen's. And now he's using it to launder himself as being actually epic and base. No, what he's doing is he's going to break his own empire as a result. That's what he's doing. I have no sympathy. I'm sure you don't either.
No. No, not even a little bit. No.
So now we have to talk about this article. American Eagle CEO co-founds fund to support Gold Star families in Israel.
When is this from?
Today. Colin?
The article is from today?
No, this is from the article is from January of 2024.
Okay. Okay.
American entrepreneurs and philanthropists, God, I hate when people write this wrong. American entrepreneur and philanthropist Jay Schottenstein, the chief executive officer of American Eagle, and Robert H. Book are launching the Fallen Heroes Fund.
Oh my God.
A global
So this
effort.
is their contribution in January of 24. This is what the CEO of American Eagle was doing, was launching this. Okay.
A global effort providing immediate financial and emotional support of the families of fallen Israeli Defense Forces soldiers and first responders on Tuesday. The total disconnect from their actions on the Palestinians. There's a reason why people hate them. And it's easy to see that. The Fallen Heroes Fund is a direct response to the October 7th Hamas attacks on Israel. The fund's mission is to come together with empathy and strength for the parents, children, and spouses of those who have died.
Well, is he putting together a fund for the 500,000 Palestinians that have died families?
Scroll up for a second, Colin. Let's look at this Jay Schottenstein. Does this look like a guy who truly cares about the average Palestinian?
No, but he could have afforded better veneers.
Yeah, his entire, it's almost
he
like
could have afforded better veneers. That's
yeah,
all
he couldn't fit his mouth properly. That's really bad.
I'm just saying. Anywho. Yeah. But that's why I think Trump could afford better hair. So, you know,
listen,
that was something I never understood either. It's like, if you've got money, why would you walk around looking like this?
Because I am a really great looking guy and you know it and everyone else knows it. And this is where the kind of whole tie-in, when it comes to what Trump is doing right now, which is
he has glasses and bad teeth, Travers. That's not good genes. You're right. He's got some shitty ass genes.
Yeah, he doesn't have good genes.
Clearly.
Maybe he pays Sydney Sweeney to have some of her. It's just at
least she's an adult. That's all I get, which is why I didn't pay any attention to it. It wasn't like when Brooke Shields did it. And it was so obviously like lechy and disgusting that they allowed that to happen.
But I want you guys to look at this guy. This is the face of Zionism. This is a rich, old, white dude who is the CEO of a company in which he sells products targeted to a younger audience. And his products are made in countries that employ slave labor. Geno genes. Or genocidal genes.
Geno genes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an evil person. And they know that they're evil. His ego is so big.
How big is it?
Big enough that he might actually destroy his own business as a result. Because when people realize that this is a full-blown Zionist project, that's what American Eagle is.
Well, and so here's the thing. So he got a bump from a whole bunch of the, America First MAGA people or whatever, because of the whole, we don't want that woke culture shit. So I'm
not even necessarily saying that that's what the bump came from. I think it was a well-executed advertisement.
Okay. But now wait till those people now realize that they're, this ad that they're liking is supported by this guy.
Who's to say that a shitload of them that bought the jeans are not going to now go back and return them? Like, I'm not supporting this shit. Okay, so he sees a bump.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he could look. Hopefully, more and more people start, boycotting and avoiding any sort of, patronage of any company that's affiliated with genocide. And it is extremely difficult to do. Like I said, that list that Francesca Albanese put forward would essentially encompass most things.
And I think Zane is right too. I mean, it's the beginning of August. It is the back to school rush. So there is something to be said for that. But yeah, I think that if we get lucky, if we catch lightning in a bottle tomorrow and this clip goes viral in any capacity, 10,000 plus people, 20,000 plus people end up seeing it and sharing it, and others make comments on it. And other people like Sabby and
they tell three more and they tell three more and more and more and more.
But as funny as that may sound, it's the truth. Because many people don't, again, I didn't know this. I didn't bother to check to see if the CEO of American Eagle was affiliated with Zionism, but credit to Z Squirrel for pointing it out. And now it's on us. It's our obligation to get it out there to as many people as we can. Don't fall for the bullshit. This is why we've always said that the culture war is bullshit. It's a distraction. There are always going to be roadblocks. There's always going to be somebody who's prettier than you, who works harder than you, who has a bigger advantage than you. That's life. It happens. Break down the system. Forget the fucking person who's getting the advantage. If somebody's a bigot, who fucking cares? You know what matters? What matters is, can you, as a person of color, let's say, move into a neighborhood that you want to move into, but because there's blockbusting and redlining that, even though on paper they say doesn't exist, but it still kind of does, and knowing that you can't get in there, even though you are more than qualified to live there, those are the barriers that need to be broken down. That's the real problem. That's the shit that really needs to be focused on. Forget this fucking ad with Sydney Sweeney.
I know. Well, that is sort of the... This is one of those people can't see the forest through the trees situations. You're focusing on the shiny object and you're not seeing what's going on behind the scenes, right? Like, I understand that. Yeah, you're not seeing the big picture.
No, unfortunately, a lot of people are not seeing the big picture, but we are doing our part to make sure that we get the word out there so that people can see it. And if they do see it, perhaps that change is possible. But as Zaino says, poverty is one of our greatest problems. Poverty
is a policy choice. And it is absolutely a policy choice, but you're right. It is one of our greatest problems, but it's also our creation and just completely unnecessary.
Speaking of policy choice.
Yes.
It's definitely one of those things that I think, I don't know, Colin, I'm not sure if I got you that information. No, I did. You want to talk about a policy choice. One of the hardest realities that we have to live with and why people do not speak up against the genocidal state of Israel is because of this. U.S. links $1.9 billion in state disaster funds to Israel boycott stance. So if you want to speak up against the genocidal state of Israel, the Trump administration is going to withhold funds that are rightfully yours. That is what they're going to do.
Now, keep in mind, this is a screaming violation of the Constitution. It's a screaming violation of the 14th Amendment. It's got violation written all over this shit. Okay, so let's be very clear. But the amount of time it will take to get to that point is a lot of people are going to suffer. That's the problem.
I agree with Victoria. I think Trump is just kind of he's losing control, and he always has to be in control. And this is one of those cases where, much like the CEO of American Eagle, they are not as smart as they think they are. The misnomer in this country is that because a person is a billionaire, they're automatically a smart person. And that's
no, that's not what I don't know who you think. When somebody's a billionaire, I automatically assume that they're a Nepo baby and most likely a douchebag. So I don't know why you think that somebody thinks that because somebody is somehow like that they're smart. How many businesses has Trump tanked? How many no, sorry, not a good no. He's a snake oil salesman, and the only reason he's gotten as far as he has is because he had a nice head start.
Well, yes, I'm not saying that that's not the case, but what I am saying is that there is this perception amongst a large portion of society that believes that just because you're rich, automatically that makes you benevolent in some way.
No, it makes you privileged and, generally speaking, very lucky. And there's exceptions. There are people that busted ass and didn't start out on third base. There are some of those people, but I don't think so for the most part.
I totally hit a triple in the womb, and that's why I ended up on third base when I was born, because I'm very special that way. So Trump administration ties disaster aid to anti-BDS stance. That's not legal. States use funds for this is, and as I've said before, and I'll say it again, this is why I would run against Wasserman Schultz for Congress just on the principle of the fact that one of the hallmarks of her entire political career was pushing anti-BDS laws.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's her thing.
Yeah, making it a crime that you can't complain against her favorite place in the whole world, which is Israel, and cozying up to Netanyahu, her good buddy. States use funds for search and rescue gear, backup power. Effort is latest to tie routine federal funding, again, routine, expected federal funding to administration's political views. So U.S. states and cities that boycott Israeli companies will be denied federal aid for natural disaster preparedness. It's not even a question of whether they are just taking away federal funds for given projects. Trump is so vindictive about this shit. And I don't even know if it's necessarily him, but clearly it's on behalf of the Zionist project.
I was going to say, I mean, he's doing their bidding. I don't know. This doesn't sound like something that it would be personal for him. It sounds like something like this has, the Zio Nazis written all over it, whether it's Miriam or any of those goons.
But all the things that they could possibly do, they want to tie it to natural disaster preparedness.
So they're tying it to people being able to come into the country. You're tying it to people. This is, wake up and smell the fascism.
The Federal Emergency Management Agency stated in grant notices posted on Friday that states must follow its terms and conditions. Those conditions require they certify they will not sever commercial relations specifically with Israeli companies to qualify for funding.
It's a violation. And in fact, we know it's a violation. It's already been found to be a violation. And the problem is that most people don't have the resources to challenge it in most states. So this is the problem. But no, this is how they get away with it.
The requirement applies to at least 1.9 billion with a B that states rely on to cover search and rescue equipment, emergency manager salaries, and backup power systems, among other expenses, according to 11 agency grant notices reviewed by Reuters. The requirement is the Trump administration's latest effort to use federal funding to promote its views on Israel. But I will say this, Jen, and I wonder if you agree. This again speaks to the level of desperation that they feel they have to go to protect.
Totally. Because you're not, now it's okay. They've already stifled speech. They're signing agreements with Columbia University, which in my mind, Columbia it's dead. Columbia is dead. Nobody should go there. Nobody should that school. Honestly, goodbye. Good riddance. So they are desperate. They're throwing everything they can against the wall to try to claim the narrative back. And this is just one more way, is they're basically going to force people who are so desperate to agree to this. But the thing is this, while it is a violation of the Constitution, absolutely it is, it's also not really enforceable. That's one of the things that's a problem with this kind of bullshit. It's like, you take money from the government as emergency relief, they're not able to know what you haven't bought because it's Israeli in the past. How would they know that? Maybe you didn't buy it because you didn't need that product. You know, it's not easy to show it. So it's not something that's really going to be able to be enforced. But by definition, it is a violation. That's what I say.
The requirement applies to at least 1.9 billion, as I stated. The requirement is the Trump administration's latest effort to promote Israel, but the Department of Homeland Security, the agency that oversees FEMA in April, said that boycotting Israel is prohibited for states and cities receiving its grant funds. Again, how is that possible?
It's not. It's not.
FEMA separately said in July that U.S. states will be required to spend part of their federal terrorism prevention funds on helping the government arrest migrants, an administration priority. That's for sure. What's even more amazing is that the priority of arresting migrants are not even illegal, based on the terminology. These are people that are legal residents here, and they're going to such lengths. Again, the incompetency is off the charts.
Well, you're right. They're desperate. And this was a good point. So what nonsense says, Jen, if you change vendors from Israeli to American, would you still be punished? I mean, no, I mean, and that's the thing. You have to really look at what the requirement says. I mean, this is sort of probably a recap or a synopsis of it. But it would be impossible to show, because you'd have to show that somebody purposefully did it because they're boycotting Israel. And that's not something that's going to be able to be easily demonstrated, which is why this is just sort of a flex. But it's still unconstitutional, right? So, I mean, they're not going to be able to enforce it, but that doesn't mean
they are facilitating, they are hastening Israel's demise.
Yes.
What they're doing.
Yes.
FEMA separately said in July that U.S. states will be required to spend part of their federal terrorism, again, funds on helping the government. The Israel requirement takes aim at BDS, the Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions movement, designed to put economic pressure on Israel to end its occupation of Palestinian territories. The campaign's supporters grew more vocal in 2023 after attacked southern Israel, and Israel invaded Gaza in response. Remember to BDS the shit out of American Eagle, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
DHS will enforce all anti-discrimination laws and policies, including as it relates to the BDS movement, which is expressly grounded in anti-Semitism. I don't think.
And here's the thing. She's so stupid.
She is a certified moron.
She is really friggin' stupid. So we're talking about the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, said that BDS is grounded in anti-Semitism. Actually, Kristi with an I, it isn't. It actually was originally based in Palestine. It is a movement that grew from the ground, that was a local movement in Palestine for Palestine. And here's the thing about Palestinians. They're Semites. Not only are they Semites, but anti-Semitism isn't a thing there. That's a made-up white European thing. Because everybody who essentially lives in the Levant or is from that region, they're Semites. That's what they are. So no, you moron. It isn't anti-Semitic. It was literally formed from the entire soul of the actual Semites is what that comes from. You stupid bitch. Sorry.
The requirement is largely symbolic. At least 34 states already have anti-BDS laws or policies, according to UPenn Law Journal. FEMA's Israel requirement is shameful, says Mahmoud Nawaja of the BDS movement in a statement on Monday. Yes, it is shameful. The American Jewish Committee, of course they do, supports the Trump administration's policy. Again, another Zionist NGO. said Holly Huffnagel, didn't know that was a Jewish name, the group's director of anti-Semitism policy. The agency is an advocacy group that supports Israel. Under one of the grant notices posted on Friday, FEMA will require major cities to agree to the Israel policy to receive a cut of $553.5 million set aside to prevent terrorism in dense areas.
Oh, for the love of all that is fucking holy.
New York is due to receive $92.2 million from the program, the most of all the recipients. Let me tell you, if Zohran's the mayor, I think he would make much better use of that money.
Oh, I'm sure.
Allocations are based on the agency's analysis of relative risk of terrorism. Hey, if Zohran's there, I guess the risk of terrorism is going to go up. You're going to have to give him even more money. Probably. Is there any more, Colin? I believe that's it. So, yeah, we understand, Casey. We understand your pain. It's also
I got to get out of Florida. Give me both.
Well, New York City and Florida, respectively, two of the most Zionist dense places in the country that are filled with people like that.
Ugh. God. Her skin's rotting off by the day.
It is. And by the way, I know you wanted to make a little statement regarding Jewish Voice for Peace, which is one of the good organizations, mind you.
I love JVP. I am a proud member of JVP for years.
But unfortunately, here in South Florida, where Jen is, I am not, but in South Florida, they seem to think that going to Wasserman Schultz's office and protesting because she's a genocide supporter and somehow protesting in front of her office, an office in which she's never at, is somehow going to make a difference?
Well, I didn't know that you wanted to talk about that. I mean, this is a problem for a lot of reasons, and people that are local here know this. So Debbie's office, okay, is in an office park that is like, it's so not anything that's visible to the street or to so like protesting in front of it and standing in front of it, you're not making a scene in front of anything. You're literally in a parking lot in a office park. Like it's just nothing. So to go there and stand in front and banging pots and pans, by the way, that's what they were doing. I get it when you're in a residential neighborhood and you're disturbing the people. That's the point. But to go to this place and do it, first of all, Debbie is most likely not there. She's probably not there. And so all you're doing is you're disrupting other businesses that are working there that isn't necessarily her. So that to me is not the best use of time or even of a protest, because protest in a place that's not visible or causing a nuisance to the correct people doesn't seem like sound strategy to me.
Well, unfortunately, anyone who thinks that there's any salvaging South Florida politically right now, as Jen found out this afternoon, it's just not.
No.
It is what it is. And people need to realize that the more things get bad for Israel, and they will continue to face their demise, because that's what's coming. It's not going to end well, especially because the Epstein list still looms large. People are not buying into this stuff. And the more the information comes out about the Zionist state, as in the Zionist state over the United States, like the CEO of American Eagle, the more people will be informed and the more people will execute through their wallets. You only pass anti-BDS laws if what you believe in isn't sustainable. So you have to force it on people. But I think people have the people of the United States overwhelmingly have reached the point of no return. That is the essence of why I am critical of somebody like Jennifer Welch. Quit bashing people who support Trump or are MAGA, because there's a shitload of them that are on board with supporting Palestine. And so our job is to unite as many people as possible to continue to push this forward, because if we are able to successfully unwind this Zionist genocidal project, we might have a chance at taking back our country. Not that it's going to happen overnight, but we are starting to see how the sausage is made and why we're not able to fight back the way that we want to, the way that we wish we could. But eventually, we wake up to the reality of what we're living in. And then you can point the finger at that and say, yep, I'm not shopping there anymore. I'm not putting my money in that bank. Everything will always get worse before.
Harajdu wants to know if I come up with a replacement for Islamophobia. I mean, I just called Islam a hate, but you know, bigot works. Bigots work. That's you know, haters gonna hate. But yeah, Islam a hate. Islam hate is what I would call it. I reject the concept. Same thing with, by the way, I don't use the term homophobia either. You're not scared of gay people either.
You're not?
No, people are not. That's ridiculous. You just don't like them because you don't like them. Stop saying you're scared of things. You know, like I've met people that have real phobias. Like there's arachnophobia. Like there are people that have actual real fears of things.
Sure.
Stop saying you're afraid of something just because you're an asshole. No, and you're a bigot. You know, it's like, yeah, be a bigot. What can I tell you?
Well, Bamboo is right. There is no going back. What's done is done. The new future is here. It's struggling to be born, but we will make it so. If you are so inclined, remember, guys, patreon.com/revolutionary change. For as little as $5 a month, you can become a supporter of this small but mighty and growing channel. We're working on it. Still got more work to do. I believe that we do have guests on Thursday. I wish Rachel were here right now. If Rachel is in the chat,
she's in there.
She's remind us.
But for all I know, she's got wet nail polish on and she's stuck and she can't text because that's happened to her before.
No, I mean, if she obviously was texting, then she would let us know. But that is very important. I do want to let everybody know who's coming on the show on Thursday. We do have some additional super chats. We got to give a shout out. S. Kolachuk with the 2 Canadian A. Jen, did you watch Barney Miller?
You know, I didn't. And I think a big part of that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think Barney Miller went on at the 9 o'clock hour.
You had to go to bed.
I did. And I did. And that was the thing that, like, the only night where I was allowed to stay up later and watch shows was Saturday night. But I still wasn't allowed to stay up late enough to watch Saturday Night Live when it was good. By the time I was old enough to stay up, or it's not good now. But so I I think that might be it. Why I didn't catch Barney Miller, but I do know what it is, and I do like Hal Linden. So I'm a fan.
What do you remember were the shows when what were the first shows that you can remember watching on TV in the mid-70s?
All in the Family, The Jeffersons, when you're talking sitcoms, Laverne and Shirley. I saw, Happy Days, Mork and Mindy, but that was a little bit later. I also, for me, and this is just, I was a Little House on the Prairie girl. I was every Monday night, I was Little House on the Prairie girl. And if you even so much as even think to say something remotely negative about Michael Landon or Little House on the Prairie, I will warn you, tread very lightly. Like these days are all. Well, I mean, that too, but I like that. And I also, Saturday nights, I was able to stay up late enough to watch Love Boat and Fantasy Island, but then I had to go to bed. So then I still wasn't late enough to watch Saturday Night Live.
Love Boat was like a sappy, story, whatever you call it.
It was a who's who. It was a who's who, like sort of like
it was a different famous person, like every week.
Yeah, but back in those days, everything was variety shows, even and even things like Battle of the Network Stars types of specials. Like everything was about your favorite primetime TV people on the 3 major networks. That was the whole thing, because that's all there was.
Well, for me, my earliest memories was probably around 1986, 1987, I would say. And it was Cheers. It
Oh,
was,
yeah, that was.
and Night Court. Those
Oh.
were the first two that I distinctly remember watching with
funny.
my father. And then eventually, come the late 80s, it did become Married with Children and The Simpsons. I did not get into Seinfeld. It was not my thing.
It was mine. And I do see people and they're talking about Alice and Different Strokes, and those also were shows that I watched. I did like that. I did watch
Different Strokes. Well, remember, all the shows had good theme songs. You know, it was
Yeah,
like,
but you have to wonder what the hell did Mr. Drummond do to those kids, man? Shit.
I don't know. What did he do to those kids?
I don't know. I mean, that was just such, that show, Janet Jackson was on that show.
It's Jackson, if you're nasty. JG,
I mean, there were a lot of people that went on those shows and, but yeah.
JG 1982, thank you so much for gifting the 5 Revolutionary Change memberships. I know. We're trying to get the name change. We haven't been able to successfully do that, but we're working.
Why is that? Why is that killing us?
Ask him. I don't know. It's a good question.
Why is that?
Imad Abi Salah, thank you so much for the $4.99 super sticker. Inshallah. Thank you. I don't know why. Something with StreamYard, Colin says. Our guest for Thursday is author and businesswoman Stacey Horn, who I believe you wanted to speak with.
I did?
Yes.
I don't remember. I'll have to look.
Well, it doesn't ring a bell for me, but I would think it would ring a bell for you. So I'm going to assume that this was a lady you would like to speak with. Stacey Horn, author of The Killing Fields of New York on Thursday.
Okay.
Ring a bell? Slight?
Sort of, I think so. This is somebody I think that Rachel told me I needed to look up the thing, and I will. I'll be prepared.
You'll be prepared.
My paraphernalia sure as shit won't be clean, but I will be prepared, Rachel.
Well, you'll do the best you can.
It's hard without her here. Oh, this is the woman. Okay, now she reminded me. This is the woman that our friend Ken McCarthy recommended.
Well, anybody that's recommended by Ken McCarthy is certainly somebody you're definitely going to want to speak to.
Right. So she has a new book. It's called The Killing Fields of New York. And that is what we are going to be talking about on Thursday. And I will do my best to understand as much as I can. Oh, Fraggle Rock was shit, Travers. Oh, yeah. Fraggle Rock.
I remember Fraggle Rock. I remember Gummy Bears.
Cares away. Worry for another day. Let the music play. Down Fraggle Rock.
Down Fraggle. Yes, of course. I remember.
Oh, yeah. That was before Disney killed Jim Henson.
Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, and
the Muppets were special. The Muppets were very special. Again, that was one of those sort of variety shows. Also, by the way, if people did not know, Dolly also had a variety show back in the day. And, did you know that? And my favorite variety show of all time, if people want to know, is Donnie and Marie. And I had a Donnie and Marie sleeping bag. That was one of my most prized things that to this day I wish I never got rid of.
Well, I also dabbled in the Real Ghostbusters and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those were the big, in terms of, what was really the show that kind of defined my youth and growing up. It was definitely The Simpsons. That's the number one show. That was the show that I personally look back on, and I mean, it was a really great show at its peak.
I'm going to make the comment on Mama's Family because I never got into Mama's Family, but I want to just say this: the respect and love Carol Burnett huge. Carol Burnett show is one of my most all-time, like that. She's a queen. She's a queen. And I have much respect. I just never really got into that Vicki Lawrence character. But I definitely have a lot of love for all things having to do with Carol Burnett, Harvey Korman, Tim Conway, that brilliance.
Now, as an 80s kid, if you really want to talk about a fun show, since if anybody is from the 80s or grew up as a teenager in the 80s,
Yes.
then, Nickelodeon obviously took off in like 1980, like when I was born, 1983. And the show that I watched that I always got a kick out of was You Can't Do That.
Do that on television. Yeah, I was a little older because that's when the whole sliming thing.
Yeah. Well, that's it. But the whole thing about going to Universal Studios in Orlando became such a big deal because it was like that's where it was filmed. And hey, you want to get slimed? Come on down here. But there were other shows too, like
here's someone who also gets the other, and therein is the bookend to the Carol Burnett thing for me is Lucille Ball. Lucille Ball, a level of strength and brilliance and just beauty and just the shit. Ran her own production company at a time when you weren't the shit.
Yes.
So I hear you, and that mass respect. And Lucy in the Chocolate Factory is I had a pair of pajamas that was Lucy in the Chocolate Factory, one of my most all-time favorite. That Lucy in the Grapes, Lucy with everything. Just freaking, I love Lucy.
The funniest Lucy episode, though, bar none, is Vitamita Vegemin. If you
Vitamin, well, and
get yourself a big bottle of this stuff. I mean, that was as good. She was great. And the episode when she goes to Hollywood and sees William Holden, I mean, that was comedy genius as well.
She was special. She was special. And so is Carol Burnett. There's certain people like that.
The scene when they go into the restaurant in LA, the famous restaurant where everybody has the caricature image of themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. And so William Holden ends up coming. For those of you who don't know, Bill Holden was a very famous actor in the 50s and 60s. And so he goes into the restaurant. They go to the restaurant and they see him there. And they can't stop staring at him. And the next thing you know, he's getting like this. These people won't leave me alone. So he decides, I'm going to stare at them. He just starts staring at her, and they can't eat. Like they're losing their mind. I'm telling you, if you've never seen it, that's a great episode. Just thinking about it, it's funny.
Lucille Ball was special, and
improv comedy was great.
It wasn't just you mean slapstick.
Yes. And I loved
because and that's the thing about people like Lucille Ball and Carol Burnett. The slapstick, it's so good. Carol Burnett to me is just
And my favorite comedian from those days was definitely Don Rickles. I
don't get.
I just like him. I think
he's just mean.
What? He's an insult comic. I
guess I don't find that. I don't find being mean funny, I guess. Just like I don't find potty humor funny. Like I just.
Oh, well, we all know I like potty humor. That's
exactly. You like mean humor and potty humor, which are the two things I do. I don't think you need to be mean. And unless you're like Dice mean back in the day when Dice had his
man cometh.
When he had his he told his poems, he had his nursery rhymes. Hickory dickory dock.
Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet.
No, but that's not mean. That's not mean. It's just obscene, but it's not mean. I think like insulting people. I don't know. Unless it's a roast. If it's a roast, I could get into it. But just if that's your only shtick is being.
I was not a fan. I was not a fan of Dice, but you know who I was a fan of, and not everybody. Again, another controversial comic, but a guy that I thought was very funny was Sam Kinison. Like I found Kinison to be very funny.
I think he was funny, but also very angry.
Yes. There's not going to be anything.
It's not. That wasn't my thing either.
Well, that was the other thing also about growing up in the 80s is that anybody who knows anything about comedy in New York is that if you had the opportunity to get a 4-minute spot at Dangerfield's and Rodney Dangerfield got you up on that stage, I mean, there were so many comics that got made as a result of being able to get on his show. So again, I wish the world was like that still, but it's not. It's the world we live in today. We have to make do with this really crappy, everything's a remake, everything's an origin story, everything's a sequel. It is what it is.
Zaina, you should come when we have Clifton. When we get Tony Clifton checks in every once in a while, is one of our people that comes on in the chat is Tony Clifton, which cracks me up. But I really did. I'm still not convinced that George Santos isn't Andy Kaufman. But I reserve my thoughts on that.
Well, he's going to prison now. SCTV. That's Rick Moranis. That's John Candy. That's Joe Flaherty. That's Eugene Levy. That's Catherine O'Hara. If you guys haven't seen SCTV, that's some really funny shit too. So
that's the Canuckies.
Yeah. It is. I'm glad that we can talk about other things and end on a more positive note than just talking about all the misery of the world.
It is a lot of miserable shit. Well,
without comedy, where the hell would we be? Where the hell would we be without our amazing audience that's been with us most of the night? And we're only here because of you. Well, we're not only here because of you guys, but we are. And this is Rachel's favorite. That's Rachel's favorite. Kids in the Hall.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
Favorite.
How do you know that? And I don't know that.
Well, Rachel shares trade secrets with me too.
Well, it's because you definitely share more of a humor.
Yes, that's true.
Style, like a humor style with her.
We love you too, bud. We should have you back on soon. Have another fun conversation.
Of course, anytime.
To talk about. So with that said, and there it is.
There it is, Kids in the Hall. All right.
Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. We love you all. We will see you Thursday, and
Free Palestine.
Good night, guys.